probably their best performing player in Insec, he needs to go big.
It's a Korean jungle matchup between Drizzle and Insec. Drizzle came into the team after the much actually respected Captain 57 was put onto the bench. They substituted in Drizzle. We saw his Lee Sin mechanics are very good, specifically stealing away Dragon, of course, against the master of Lee Sin, the historic Lee Sin in Insec. All caps actually with Insec this week, so a bit of confidence coming through. He's going to need to translate that confidence both into his own performance and the shot calling. It's not just his performance that's been struggling. His shot calling has been hit or miss so far in the LPL.
It really has, and we'll see what happens here in our first game. Energy Pacemaker on the blue side for game 1, Royal over on the red. We've got Callista and LeBlanc, the first 2 bans there for EP, and Royal have responded with Nidalee and Cassidy.
So far, well, again, it's played 4 games, shown 3 games of Callista and a Corki game. So why not ban away that comfort Callista? I mean, it sounds like a weird thing to say given that Callista's the newest marksman in the league, 80 carry for most of you viewers. But definitely his most popular pick, banned away, less hyper carry potential coming through, maybe forcing him onto the Corki.
I mean, Callista's certainly a very powerful pick as well. We see a lot of teams, not even with specific Callista players, still targeting it out because of her strength. But I love the Vega here as well. We saw a lot of this yesterday, and we're going to continue to see Vega bans today. And Royal do have one more ban to go with, and it is the Hecarim there away from Amazing J.
A lot of 5.2 flavor coming through from these bans. Specifically, teams went away for a week, did a bit of research, saw the power of the support Vega, and we just saw it inundate. I believe it was picked or banned in all our series yesterday. So it's surprising to see it join the ban list so early, but blue side ban. Either EP don't play it or they know that Zero plays it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Insec play it before, maybe not to the best of his abilities from the jungle, but we did think that Hecarim was going to be contested here, and it is banned by Royal on the red side. Gnar is the first pick up there for Amazing J, so very solid top laner that he's going to get, and Royal have got 10 seconds to make their first 2 picks.
Gnar priority over Lissandra is super interesting to me. Lissandra is definitely, to me, the strongest of the top lane pool available to the league right now. Functions as a tank, has so much space control in team fights, but even has carry potential with enough AP items. Very flexible, flex pick coming through, and Zero picks up his Thresh.
Yeah, so we've talked about Thresh a lot here in China. Zero, one of the best Thresh players, you have to say, possibly the best here, and there are a lot of good ones in China. So Lissandra Thresh, very strong stuff from Royal Club.
Amazingly, we've seen Thresh fall off a bit in China, because China was always famous for bringing up Thresh. It was the Chinese freight train, the Hecarim Thresh Graves, that was so popular in Season 3. Since the release, has been synonymous with Chinese supports, but with all the Annie this season, Annie an excellent pick against Thresh, the Leona play as well, it's actually been somewhat risky to pick up Thresh in these games, so he started to fall away, still so powerful though.
But I do like it here for Royal, especially because I feel like they need someone to help make plays, and Zero can be a playmaker from support, so I like that pick there. But EP responding kind, Lee Sin and Graves are their second and third picks.
And so the support Vegas comes in. The other thing is they're going for the really lane-dominating AD carries. It's the Graves coming through a lot more commonly in the LPL this week. It's just, again, choosing laning power. Kane has been struggling in lane. He's the veteran of this team, so he just wants to pick something that does very well on a lot of lanes. Of course, it matches up just fine against Corki. Not surprising to see well lock in that Corki, given, again, that's the only other champion that he's played in competitive play so far.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. Royal going to look for some power picks here potentially. They are going to lock in the Rengar for Insec, so he is going to take the into the jungle, and it is going to be the Corki. So again, a lot of mid-game in Insec back on a carry jungler.
But the thing about Insec's Rengar is he loves to play the carry-style jungler. Like you say, it's not going to be the tanky Rengar, it's going to be the damage Rengar. He loves to stack those brutalizer items, really get his armor penetration and cooldown reduction on, and go full offensive. So he needs a secondary tank. Of course, Lissandra will function like a tank. Thresh will be in the middle of fights. Again, a pseudo tank, but probably going to be a no tank lineup, you'd have to think, coming through from Starhound Royal Club. Another thing to say, love that setup CC if you're Rengar can get in there with the Bowler Strike to complement all the Lissandra CC, the death sentence coming through from the bottom lane. Any more point-and-click CC will really empower Rengar to go massive in the early to mid-game.
Yeah, and EP have made some pretty dramatic shifts here. Annie going to be the support, but Victor makes an appearance in the LPL.
Victor in the LPL. It's not the first time, of course, Zatai, now on the bench, was a famed Victor main in previous years. We actually haven't seen Victor post-rework definitely in the LPL. Going to see some Victor action. I'm super excited. I don't even know which build path we're going to see him come through. Of course, all the AP items are quite synergistic with his kit. And the Annie lock-in as well. EP, we always look for the curveballs. It's the Victor this time.
Yeah, I mean, they've finally thrown it in. Raphael definitely has his picks, it feels like. Not much like Zatai from IG, like you mentioned. A player that plays what he wants, not what necessarily the meta informs to him, though. Royal are, it seems like, maybe going to make a swap here. You mentioned lack of frontline. I love this pick, actually. They're going to give the Maokai probably to Cola and move the Lissandra to the mid lane.
Yeah, Lissandra against Victor does suggest to me there is a bit of significant kill pressure. It's smart to pick up up the cleanse. He's at least hovering now, Raphael. Remember, this is their Korean duo. It's Raphael and Drizzle, those mid laners who are the Korean duo. So Lee Sin, Victor, you can see some synergies there. If they're ever able to hit the gravity field, the long amount of CC can set up a lot of Lee Sin's damage. Victor for comp, though, is going to be super interesting. We don't see him very often. We know what he does. He loves that AoE damage, specifically from the ultimate. A lot of potential with that pick.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you mentioned Gravity Field specifically. Tell me, Bubba Smithy, how do you feel about Na plus Victor W?
There could be some amazing engagement. It's so hard, really, to get rooted by that W, the stun coming through. It does take that 1.5 seconds, I believe, to arm. But when it does, there can be some amazing things coming through. Of course, with the change in the passive, you can upgrade your hex cost separately, so it'll be very interesting to see which one he goes for first. I have to imagine it's going to be the E augment just to give yourself a bit more wave clear, but of course there's the shield coming through from the Q and the move speed, and then just the more reliable stun from the W, and then finally the ultimate upgrade. So always a lot of things to talk about with Victor, having his own item, having his different kind of play style. But yeah, you can see some teamfight wombo coming up between just Na and Victor alone.
Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about Na and seen him in the LPL as being basically a one-man teamfight wrecking ball, but Victor's going to add a pretty interesting element here. They have remade the lobby by those, so players just going to jump back in quickly, which we'll get to the game soon. Hopefully, that means we still have a Victor in the game, but I believe those picks were what they wanted to play here, so exciting stuff already for our opening game.
We're playing on LAN, so all the champions should be unlocked, so theoretically we'd see a Victor come through. We'll confirm as the picks come out. That's definitely the unique pick coming through. The teleporting Knight Hecarim, that was a real thing back in the day, so why not believe in the Victor?
I mean, yeah, EP, as we said, they've certainly done their own thing so far. And, unfortunately for them, it hasn't netted that many wins, but it's so much fun to see. And it's nice to see a team that's still fighting, wants to play their own way, clearly has an innovative playstyle, and that might be just enough to unsettle a team like Royal, who have been struggling in their last few games.
It does take teams like EP, though, to push new picks through to the meta. It does take teams to be confident with what's being played in other regions, pioneer new picks. And okay, unfortunately, maybe they won't be the people shining on Victor in playoff time. They are at the moment lagging very behind in terms of the playoff standings. But these meta picks do come through from games like this. So there's a lot of potential coming through with this Victor middle, and it's locked in.
Yep, so we are going to have it again here. And I have to ask you, Papa, of course, Victor, a very exciting thing here to open our match with. How exactly is this matchup going to go, just from what you can think about in terms of Victor versus Lissandra? Well,
you can tell from the cleanse that he's taking the defensive option. Of course, there's a lot of significant kill pressure on Victor. Victor likes to do damage from range, so the fact that there's so much gap close coming through from Lissandra, then, of course, Rengar coming in with the thrill of the hunt, there's a lot of kill pressure onto Victor. Victor's laning is very strong when he's ahead, but he definitely can be assassinated. So I think he'll struggle in lane, but look at this teamfight wombo. If we do see the big Gnar ultimate coming off, we've got Victor's AoE, we've got the Anti-Tibbers, and then all of Gray's collateral damage. A lot of teamfight damage coming through from this EP lineup.
Yeah, I mean, both sides, to me, just looking at the team comps, have very mid-game-centric comps, and we've seen a lot of this in the LPL in the last few weeks.
Yeah, so we start looking at the actual teamfight matchups. I mean, Maokai versus Na is a very standard matchup. Plenty of use of your Na Q means that we're probably going to see plenty of sustain coming through from Cola. Of course, there's a distinct possibility of a lane swap, and both those champions equally happy in such a situation.
Yeah, we're going to have, again, the battle of some aggressive Korean junglers with Drizzle and Insect. I'm curious to see what Insect does today, because, again, when he goes off on a champion like Rengar, he looks just almost unbeatable from the jungle, but when it doesn't work, unfortunately, it flops pretty hard.
Yeah, correct. The picks of Graves continue. Graves versus Corki is a very balanced match. Of course, Graves does get the passive magic resist, so maybe finer tune to deal with the Phosphorus Bomb damage coming through from the Corki. Annie versus Thresh, though. Annie was traditionally the counter pick to Thresh. She does have a lot of burst damage. If you do choose to focus on the Thresh in lane, the 2v2 trade between the Graves Annie will do significant damage to the Thresh.
Yeah, and with that, let's get on to the Rift. Welcome back here for Game 1. There it is on your screen. Raphael's Victor to start things off here on Week 6, Day 2 of the LPL. Energy Pacemaker going to start this best of 2 on the blue side, up against Royal on the red.
Yeah, the Observer knows what's up. It's all about the Victor. He's the really interesting pick in this game. Wait to see what sort of level 1 we can expect. It looks like defensive fanning so far, but Starhorn Royal are 5-man grouped.
Yep, so they're going to group up, maybe try and get some aggressive wards down and see if they can spot a lane swap or maybe take over a portion of the jungle. But Royal, like they're getting aggressive early. It suits what is honestly now Insect's team, it feels like.
We always feel that we have to track EP at level 1. They can do so many innovative things. It doesn't look like we're going to see the level 1 jungle yet, but To wait and see. It's probably not going to be a Dragon Star. Insect's going for a very aggressive invade.
Yeah, good cue there from Drizzle. Will actually spot out the rest of Royal moving through as a 4-man stack. Some wards being put down by Kane, who actually wards up the Gromp there. So going to see the intersection around the blue buff. And Zero just getting defensive wards down on his own blue buff.
And Zero was actually split from the teams. I misspoke. He was the 1-man split away from the 4-man group, getting the defensive vision around blue. Not sure yet whether they want to start a lane swap, but with the follow coming between Drizzle and Amazing J, there is the suggestion that we want to see it, but looks like Graves, he's trying to counter swap himself. They're going to counter swap EP to get the 2v2.
Yeah, so actually are going to end up in effectively standard lane, so they're in different spots on the map so far. Well, going to move in towards the top side on his Corki, and both junglers going to start actually towards their own red buff, so Krug's into red for both.
Yeah, we talked about just Thresh's kind of volatility in this lane against the Graves Annie with all the bursts in that lane, especially early, so I can understand EP counter swapping. We do end up with the reverse meta, as you say, but the jungle follow is confirmed.
Yeah, Cole are going to do a camp here as well. Actually going to finish the wolf camp there with a little bit of help from Korn. Very well organized there, actually, by Royal. So good level 1. And Nard down the bottom going to do his Krug. So, again, we're going to break out with a bit of a small camp advantage for both of the top laners.
Yeah, but Cole has gone back. He's gone back and he's cleared the wolves out himself. Of course, stacking saplings at level 1 makes it very quick for Maokai to get that ping on level 2. He can go back. He's got extra potions. Will enter lane. He'll use his teleport, so there will be an early teleport advantage for Amazing J, but that's only a 5-minute window to really make something out of that.
Yeah, and instead we're going to have 4 people in towards the top. Graves versus Corki with the Annie versus Thresh, and I think EP are probably happy with the early stages of this matchup.
It's definitely a very good laning matchup for Kane. If he can keep his passive up, he has significantly more magic resist than most AD carries in a 2v2. And again, they do ping level 2 first though, and that will give a slight advantage to Star and Royal Club. But again, other things being equal, experience being equal, you'll take the EP lane in a 2v2.
Yeah, we'll have to see as the mid lane now. Raphael versus Korn, Victor versus Lysandra to kick things off today. Didn't think I'd be saying that this evening, but that is what's happening here. And so far, pretty even in CS for Victor.
I don't know. I wake up and dream of a Victor in the mid lane in some of our games, and we finally see it here. He's going to struggle with the early lane pushing coming out from Korn. He won't be able to control that wave very well. So we might actually see Drizzle visit this mid lane early. Just try and do some damage to Korn while he's overextending to get the wave clear down.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Always good to gank Lysandra pre-6 as well. Kind of feels a little bit like Kassadin sometimes, but EP now getting pushed in slightly in towards the top side. Good phosphorus bomb there from Well, but Kane actually going to go aggressive, try and get some damage done, and they'll just trade back and forth.
And just standard training happening. Of course, not too much happening on the map just yet. Of course, Rengar hasn't even picked up his second buff. He's finally going down to pick blue, and I noticed that you mentioned the fact that there's actually a boot start coming through from Zero. We've definitely seen early roaming from Zero, but actually not even picking up the GP10. You might feel that that tips his hand a bit too much. The enemy team's like, okay, he's got no combat stats. It's already a difficult lane. It doubles down on the fact that 2v2, this Thresh is so volatile and so vulnerable to the burst from Graves and Annie.
Yeah, and we already see that Shu's been poking very well with the Spell Thieves there. So an interesting choice there for Zero. Like you mentioned, early roaming probably on his mind there, but you're right, no combat styles. Not even say a quick Ruby Crystal for a quick Sightstone, just going straight for that mobility.
Do see the death sentence come through, but you can see Zero, he understands they cannot afford to 2v2 here. Starhorn Royal Club.
Yeah, good play coming back in. Shu going to get poked back and forth, but Kane, plenty of mana to go in. Cork used a lot to actually clear down the wave and push it in with Phosphorus Bomb, so Kane and now Shu have a good lead here on the top side.
And the big issue is that if the counter swap came through, which is what we've seen them get the 2v2 they're looking for as Insect finds Drizzle in the jungle. The significant thing is that if there was the lane swap achieved, okay, you could say, all right, Thresh doesn't need that GP10 in lane, he can get the roam on, the boots work, but 25 movement speed and pigeonholing yourself into basically forcing a 2v1 or significantly losing a 2v2, that's the reason why we don't see these boot starts. They're all in. They're either going to really pay off, they're very snowbally, or they're really going to be an issue.
Yeah, Kane does have to be careful. He's actually maybe been caught out here. Does quick draw past the wave, so we'll get out of Zero's hook. Drizzle, I believe, stole a Krug away there as well. So good pressure there by Drizzle following Insect through his jungle, and there you can see Big Krug's been taken away.
They're trying to relieve a bit of pressure from the top lane. As you'd expect, with the items that have been picked up, Well's been significantly pushed in. He's had to use his Phosphorus Bomb just to clear minions, and of course now has very, very low mana bar as a result, and a support that if he doesn't hit that really miracle hook under turret, cannot really fight against EP's lane.
Yeah, and you can see it right there. Kane just dancing so well. Raphael actually going in onto Korn. Drizzle, that was an amazing cue to follow the E, but Drizzle now could be in trouble. Has to safeguard back to Raphael, but great pressure by Lee Sin.
So just not quite enough burst damage. If it was the Ignite pickup from Raphael, that could have been First Blood coming through, but respecting the Frozen Tomb and the huge engage coming through when the Throw of the Hunt is confirmed on Insect, had to go the cleanse, and therefore no first blood.
Yeah, but I've definitely been most impressed with Drizzle's Lee Sin. I mean, again, EP seem to struggle as a team more than anything else, but individually they've had some really strong individual plays, and Drizzle's Lee Sin has been possibly the highlight of this team.
I believe when he first came onto the lineup, kind of unheralded, he played that Lee Sin. I believe he stole 2 dragons away in his first game, just really confirming his status, challenging Dandy for that title of Prince of Thieves. Unfortunately, his team hasn't really let him become a superstar of the league. They have been struggling to get those victories, but he's looked very good on that Lee Sin, especially in the first 6 levels.
And Insec here down the bottom does clear a ward out from the tribal shot. Amazing J going to go back there. Did start longsword here to get a bit more aggressive against the Malco, but Colin now does have his catalyst, and we're going to have a quick Hex Drink actually from Amazing J.
It's against double AP, so I can understand the Hex Drinker pickup. Of course, Corki does mostly magic damage in the early levels, so Hex Drinker doing triple duty. It's also an offensive offensive choice, just to ensure that if we do see the double teleports come through, Cole is going to be lower health.
Yeah, we can see that Raphael has gone back and picked up his first augment there as well. Got some boots and a couple wards, and Corner's already come back with a Fiendish Codex.
I must admit, from the image, I'm not 100% sure which augment that is. That might be the shielding augment. That would be my first guess. But I have to think that with the wave clear disadvantage, it's going to be the E augment. We'll find out the first time he uses that spell. Yes, it's the E augment.
Yeah, understandably. The Death Ray going to be the first skill augmented there for Victor. So Raphael, again, pretty seasoned Victor player as far as my knowledge goes. So looking pretty good early on, keeping up in CSR against Lissandra, who's honestly quite a tough lane opponent.
It is, again, you know that he has the cleanse just for defensive options. So that's the significant thing, is that he has to have cleanse in lane. It loses a lot of kill pressure, even with Lee Sin and all his damage in early ganks. So he's playing from behind. In terms of wave clear, he's always going to struggle. But now that he has that augment, I believe, Death on his E, he has a bit more wave clear and can try and stand up to just the instant wave clear from Lissandra as she gets levels.
Zero, though, good. And Latin actually going to spot Shu and Drizzle in that bush. So good instincts there from Zero. Going to spot the gank sword coming through. And still 8 minutes in, no first blood forthcoming. A dead even game in terms of gold. Both teams playing very carefully in these first few minutes.
Just power farming has been instant. He hasn't shown up in any lanes barring the mid. And this is where he comes in.
Yeah, he's actually got level 6 now as well, so ready to go. And first blood's in the mid. Korn already with his ulti and sets up one of the easier ganks for Insec.
Frozen Tomb into Thrill of the Hunt. Instant kill. Double CC coming through from the bowler. First blood. You can see why he took the cleanse, but it wasn't even enough.
Yeah, no, used it as well and still couldn't get all of that CC. So a very strong gank there for the first blood there for Royal, and Drizzle going to have to cover the lane for a little while.
Yeah, Raphael is fallen down. He's got the augment for wave clear, but there's just not many options against. Look, if he dies with cleanse available against these two champions, you know they're going to repeat this gank in about 2 minutes' time. Very, very volatile is this mid lane matchup for the Victor.
Yeah, and Victor in general, just someone that doesn't have that many good tools, doesn't have real mobility, so has to play a lot of zone control. When you just get jumped on like that, it can be tricky, but we have actually swapped the bottom lane back down as well, so back into more of our conventional standard lanes here, and with, the Dragon potentially approaching for the first one, makes sense that they are going in, but that's a great hook onto Kane. Phosphorus Bomb will follow in, but Annie zones off immediately and well forced to Valkyrie away.
Yeah, well, Valkyrie's away just to open up a bit of space, just to keep his health bar topped up. Of course, he's significantly ahead in terms of health bar right now against Kane, but he's using his mana quite a lot, and this is 5.2, so I believe it's already 100 mana for the Valkyrie. Might just be 50 still, but regardless, he's falling low on mana. He needs that mana for lane control. He's struggling at the moment against Kane.
And I like that you mentioned mana, because Raphael, I believe, was just a result of a slight unfortunate timing there with the blue buff donation. I think Drizzle has it, which is not good news for Raphael, who just got ganked.
Yeah, I can confirm, just tabbing over, he does have the blue. He's going to struggle to wave clear against Lissandra. Lissandra's just going to pick up the blue now. We'll just assume that she picks it up. I'll move over. Yes, it is going to be blue buff Lissandra. Already giving up first blood, then giving blue buff away to Lee Sin. It's not a happy game so far for Raphael.
No, so the Victor pick, struggling a little bit in the first 10 minutes, but plenty of time for him to come through. 80 carries, looking strong on the bottom side as well, with a Phage for Corki and a BF sword done there for Groves. But Insec going to put his carry pants on a bit here, puts the pink ward down and goes for the solo dragon.
He's soloing the dragon. He has the warrior enchant, but I believe he does need at least a little bit of help trade tanking to be able to take down this first dragon. Too risky, but the teleport's coming through.
Yeah, Kane has got grab those zeros, going to move in. Drizzle actually coming through as well. The dragon going to go. Amazing J going to jump in. Insect does get it, but he will go down there to Amazing J's. Now Drizzle going to get locked up as Cola dies back in. A good exhaust comes through, and Drizzle is very low. Does get kicked back though, and now Zero forced to run away. Raphael trying to get it done. Tibbers is chasing them down as well. A good stun onto Cola will land after Annie, and he's going to flash out as well. blood everywhere on the Rift, but Dragon goes to Royal and the kill goes to EP.
Yeah, usually we talk about turret for Dragon trades being in the advantage for the turret, at least early. One kill for Dragon, you definitely give the advantage to Insec and Starhorn Royal Club in that situation. I want to point out just how excellent the flash kick was from Drizzle, disengaging, knocking up 2, and keeping himself alive. It's the minimum, but it's something for EP.
Yeah, continuing to be impressed by Drizzle's Lee Sin mechanics as well. And again, the game dead even in gold so far. A Dragon up for Royal does give them a slight edge here, but things going fine. And when we have two big mid-game teams, it seems like going head-to-head, and even game's probably what they both want. We could have a very explosive 20-25 minutes.
You look down EP's line, I mean, both teams, you have to say, are concerned with the mid-game. You see a lot of mid-game champions, Graves and Corki, they peak in the early mid-game. Annie and Thresher mid-game supports. It's the AoE coming through from Raphael to layer on top of the Gnar ultimate. You'd say EP are maybe slightly more all in on the mid-game, given that we're talking about a Rengar on the Starhorn Royal Club team. For them to fall into Dragon Hole significantly would be a problem. They really need to go towards the next Dragon. The first one, not a big deal, but they need to compete for those objectives in the mid-game, because this AoE focus comp will fall off in the late game.
Yeah, do have the time of those. I think Insect's popped his ulti, going to look for a killer onto Drizzle, does flash forward, Bowler lands as well. A great kick though, but Zero's going to lock him up. Frozen Tomb makes it so easy, and Korn gets the kill.
The coordination between the mid lane jungler and support was very on point. The 3 members still left over from that finals losing team, still very much on point.
Yeah, looking good together there, and you can just see it kind of reflected in Zero's build, what he wants to do this game. Going for a quick sidestone and quick Moby Boots here, not interested in generating gold, just wants to be as effective as he can around the map.
I mean, the Face of the Mountain is a great Thresh item to have very late, but he doesn't get a lot of gold generation in the lane. Of course, he has to really be on point to get those last hits to pick up any Relic Shield procs. Coin doesn't really offer a lot in terms of combat stats, so that's definitely been largely removed. So just skipping it completely and going for the boots. He's pioneering something. It's very risky in the early 2v2, but they've navigated, and now his build looks good.
Yeah, very low econ here for Zero, but paying off so far as we ease in towards the mid-game section of the game here. 13 minutes almost elapsed here, and still things looking fine for both teams. Royal do have a slight gold lead here of about 700 gold, but items still being picked up by both sides here, and we're going to probably wait for our next Dragon.
2-15-16. That was the statistic for Insec last week. Already doing well this game, 1-1-1. His first 2 uses of the Thrill of the Hunt have been successful ganks. Insect's trying to play himself into form. You can see with that extra longsword, he's not changing his identity. That's going to be another brutalizer, let's be real. Insec playing with confidence, playing well. That's usually the sign of Starhorn Royal Club on the up.
Yeah, no side stones here. Is actually Shu going to move in onto Well. Good stun comes down, but the Lantern's already laid out. Drizzle follows in there. Very well played, but Well is going to get out. Zero, a good box to disengage, but Kane with a great ulti snipes off Corki.
The max range collateral damage did the last 150 or so health of Corki. They do pick up the kill. Drizzle held on to the second part of his Q for so long to get the assassinate damage in. Excellently coordinated gank from EP.
Yeah, beautifully played there. And Drizzle, again, continuing to impress with the Lee Sin mechanics. But EP, they're getting good pressure down. The lanes are going fine here. It's just a matter of what can they do when the next big fight breaks out. And Royal are also getting aggressive. Korn's actually roaming already. And Rengar might have found a few members there. Korn going to go in. Good kick there from Drizzle. Korn going to get aggressive and actually ults himself as Kane's going to move in. Drizzle forced to move up. But Raphael's down here as well. As he's going to use the ulti, does pop it off. Insect's going to go down for the first kill. But Lee Sin's already gone down. Kane, though, now going to find Korn. No ulti left, unfortunately. Korn gets out. Zero escapes as well. A 2-for-1 trade.
2-for-1 trade, but importantly, look at what EP's doing with their gold. Their pink ward line is actually excellent. There's 2 pink wards towards the Dragon, 1 defensive pink ward for Victor towards the top. You need to double down on pink wards against the Throw of the Hunt, especially when Insect's doing so well in the early game, and it gives them Dragon control. There is very minimal warding on the map with no sightstone completed on either the jungler or support of Starhorn Royal Club. The sightstone up very early for Annie. She's actually significantly ahead in items with the distortion boots completed already. Starhorn Royal Club, they took that first Dragon, but they're going to have to do a lot of work to pick up the second as they actually take the mid turret here as well, EP.
Yeah, Raphael just solos it out, and you're right with the Dragon. It's up in a minute 25. So EP going to look for their first Dragon here. Royal, of course, would love to get their second, but things are looking a little tricky here potentially. Raphael actually hiding in a bush with Drizzle and Shu, so the Annie started to roam as well.
They need to spend their gold before the Dragon spawns. A minute till Dragon, 1,500 gold on both both Amazing J and Raphael, so they need to spend that if they're looking to compete for the next dragon. But so far, at least, running that clock short. They're not backing just yet.
No, I mean, Amazing J backing now does have teleport, so we'll have options to get back in, but the rest of the gold does need to be spent. Kane's actually just gone back and picked up his Infinity Edge, so we'll have some power there, but Raphael, probably the big loser there, needs to get his blue buff and also wants his next big item.
Absolutely. He's got two big timings, the blue buff and spending that 1,600 gold or so. He will not be able to do both before the dragon spawns, so this is kind of definitely awkward timing. Wow, the blue buff actually fell to 2 health. It almost was stolen away by Drizzle inadvertently a second time.
Raphael gets it though, now going to back off actually there on Victor, so going to go make his first few purchases. EP feel comfortable maybe with the amount of ward vision they have so far. 20 seconds to the next dragon, and Insec is already looking for a pick with 0.
You have to wonder where those communication issues come through. They are not clearly communicating timers if Raphael's going to show up so late to the dragon. If you show up just when the dragon spawns, you might be right, all right, I'm here for the fight. But the setup, the ward battle, that's the significant part about early dragons. And EP, they had it, and they've handed it away. If you look at the wards now, significant wards around for Star and World Cup, all placed in the last minute.
Oh, Shula going in onto Insect, the teleport moving as well. A good lander from 0 keeps him safe. But now Kohler going to come to an Amazing J. Going to get locked up there, the ulti down there as well. But he knocks people back into the wall. Raphael goes massive with the Chaos Storm, and Kohler now tanking way too much damage. The ultis here from EP threw in so much there. A good snare there as well. Double kill actually for Victor. Now Kane going to flash forward. Insect almost gets chunked out. There's the triple for Victor. An Energy Pacemaker turn it on its head.
Starhorn World Cup wanted to get one pick. They did not realize this was a Banshee Veil Hex Drinker Gnar. He lived so long and then was able to get a massive Gnar into the wall. And that's where Starhorn World Cup's completely fell apart. The second dragon is confirmed from EP despite the lack of dragon control. They forced a fight and they took it gleefully.
I mean, we talked about the Wombo there. All of the ultis funneling through the choke just did so much work to give Victor the triple. Unbelievable team fight.
A Starhorn World Cup, they wanted to get that first kill, then disengage away from the choke. It took so long to kill the Gnar. He stayed alive through it all, and then the Wombo started.
Yeah, and the Wombo looked very strong there for EP, so they'll pick themselves up a pretty nice little gold lead, actually 3,000 gold ahead, and now going to pick up some more major items as well. And we talked about it, kind of a mid-game battle going on between these two teams. EP now have a front foot forward.
Absolutely, especially all that, because we're going to see the replay coming through. So the Flash Tibbers comes in. Watch how much damage Gnar tanks before this is all over. So Amazing J's building up the rage. That's why they ult him. They realize he's going to get that rage up. He's still alive. The double Gnar to disengage. The Wombo comes through. You can see fighting at the back. Kohler, he's very tanky, but it's 5 members focusing on one target. And Starhorn Royal Club forced away. They pick up the dragon there, EP. Excellent team fight.
Yeah, Amazing J, even with a nice slow there towards the end as well. Now actually, they're going to maybe focus him here. Amazing J now in Mega Gnar going to run into Insec almost there, hiding in that brush. And Insec, I don't know if he really wants to do this, but he's going to fight in. Kohler going to move through. Now Insec's going to make his presence known. Does slow him down. Gets the second bowler for the snare. Kohler knocks him back there, but a double Gnar back. They're going to keep Amazing J alive, and he's just far too tanky.
Yeah, Gnar's the more. He doesn't even have to use his flash, just the defensive Gnar ultimate. He'll have that cooldown up by the next time he transforms with all the Gnar changes. Amazing J, he's not the man you want to be focusing.
No, and we've seen this with EP a lot of the time. Amazing J, when he has big games, can create wins here for Energy Pacemaker, and it's not only him that's having a good game. I have to credit Shu. His Annie has been so assertive in all of these fights.
Absolutely. The Flash Tibbers that we saw to initiate that fight was excellent. Or had the distortion boots very early, so we'll have Flash deceptively early, way before the next Dragon fight for another pick. But coming back to Amazing J and Captain 57 was their carry strategy in the LSPL. It was all about their jungler snowballing their top. Okay, it's not the same jungler, but the strategy still holds. Amazing J, he doesn't run around and run over the LPL top laners like he did in the LSPL. Of course, the talent has really increased with names like Looper and other people coming into the pool. Koro really stepping up. But Amazing J still an excellent player.
There's a 4-man gank happening here in the top lane. Kohler actually going to get out of 0. Will lantern him away. Graves going to move in as well. So 5 men strong in the top side. EP going to take their 3rd outer turret.
Excellent map movement. That's 3 turrets to 0. So that's the whole global gold advantage basically symbolized in that 3 turrets to 0 lead. In terms of CS, actually the CS value is very equal. We've got an advantage for Amazing J. You can see that reflected by just how little damage he's taken. In the mid lane, the CS is in the advantage of Korn, but 4 kills for Victor. Remember, he was 0-1-0 not a moment ago, suddenly showing with 4 kills.
Yeah, just destroying the minion waves now as well with that maxed up E. And Con actually has to be careful. Shu's continued to roam here, and Raphael might just go in for a kill.
Coming into that Hex core, though, just reminding the viewers, he started off with that Death upgrade. I don't believe he's upgraded a second time. He spent all his gold on the Merlinomicon and then he was Large Rod upgrading the boots. We'll keep tabs to see what his next augment is, but right now at least going standard AP items.
Yep, maxing Q second there as well, so plenty of burst and a bit of protection there as well. Really only need the one utility point there into the W. So Raphael, again, a seasoned Victor player as far as I can remember, looking strong so far and a bit of an oddball champion.
Yeah, the luxury upgrades on the speed and the gravity zone are nice, but again, doesn't seem to be worth the early investment. He's always got that item later on.
Pretty insane damage there as well onto that Corky Raphael. No joke right now on the damage. We saw him getting the triple kill in the last team fight. If Royal Club group up too much, and Amazing J can set up the Victor here with his ulti, Royal melt very quickly.
There's no disengage to be discussed. Not the Janna kind of disengage. They have a team that's about committing to a fight. Lissandra, Rengar, Maokai, they all go in. Thresh as well. So the Maokai ultimate could be the big winner in the late game when there's magic resist for that 20% extra damage reduction to kind of build upon. Of course, resists and then 20% less. You're not going to be taking a lot of AoE magic damage. Insect's propped the throw of the hunt, but he's being very patient.
He wants to try and find an ulti. Corn's here as well. Finished as Zonya's actually here for the Lissandra. Is Zero going to try and find a pick? Drizzle will find a few too many friends. Does flash up, but gets ulti. Now Kane going to move back. Raphael as well. Drizzle getting jerked up, but he actually does lock them down. Corn forced to pop the Zonyas. Drizzle's going to tag him, but Kane gets a kill. Now Amazing J diving in. Insect does kill Annie, but does go down there as well. Now Amazing J continuing to run in. That's 3 for 1 so far. Raphael burning well down, just doing so much damage, and the Gnar does transform. No skill shots forthcoming though, but another great trade by EP.
The pick onto Drizzle did not work because they did not respect the Merc treads coming through. They couldn't layer the CC well enough, even with the miraculous death sentence coming through from Zero. He's always so on point with those skill shots, but it did nothing for them. And EP, and once Amazing J's teleport came through, they had to respect that massive Gnar.
Yeah, and I like that you talked about before that, there is not that much magic resist right now to really prevent a lot of the AoE magic damage coming through for the Victor. Zero didn't get a gold generation item. If he's going for an Aegis, it'll take a while. Insect going full carry, not going to build a locket there either. Like, there's just not that much right now that Royal can do to mitigate all of this early Victor burst.
Well, you just knew if this was Vici gaming, if it was Dandy playing that Rengar, he'd be going for that more tanky build. He would focus on cooldown reduction for lower throw of the hunt cooldown. And of course, Aegis fits so well into that build with the 10% CDR coming out from the locket. That's not Insect's calling card at all on the Rengar. He goes full carry mode. It hasn't worked out for him so far in the LPL. It can overpower games early, but now that they're on the back foot after being so significantly far ahead early, the build kind of falls apart.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Royal sort of started the game weren't that far ahead, just a Dragon, I believe, at the highest point, but we're on the front foot. But this team, especially the comp they've picked, is all about forward momentum, and as soon as that last big fight happened, Royal just lost all of it.
And Kane really loves the new lower price on that QSS. Already has it through to give him insurance against Lissandra. Credit to Star Royal Club. They're more on point with this Dragon. The teleport's going to come through, but they should be able to disengage.
Yeah, looks like they will. I thought Drizzle was going to steal that away again. He's been so good at stealing those Dragons. Cola does ride Insect, a very nice lantern up, and Royal will get the Dragon and get out.
You can kind of see the difference between EP and a team like EDG, for example. Okay, they rotated very well. They picked up the 3 outer turrets. They took that good fight, took down the Dragon, but they missed that last piece of the pie. They didn't get the next Dragon. They could have set up for it. They had the exact timer. They were absolutely in pole position to bait the second Dragon or just DPS it down. But just through poor map movement, they weren't in position. And Star Royal Club, especially with the flow of the last 10 minutes or so, have effectively stolen it away.
Yeah, a nice steal there for the Dragon, but EP grouping on top of a pink ward here. Baron is available, and Baron quite a bit weaker here on this patch. We pointed out a lot here in the Chinese scene, but they do love to go for early Barons, and this one is melting now. I mean, Zero might check it, but it could be too late. He does put a ward down, but Royal gonna have to fight now. The teleport does come down. REP gonna finish the Baron. They go in. Drizzle does get it there in the Lee Sin, but he's in so much trouble and does go down there. Looks like Korn actually in the middle. Does pop his on. He's trying to ult himself, but just gets destroyed there. 2 for 1. EP will take the 2 kills and the Baron, and they might even go for more.
It was a very, very risky Baron. Probably too risky. Drizzle actually didn't have a level advantage. It was level 11 to a level 11 before those 2 junglers went down. No reason to force a crapshoot when you're so far ahead, REP. But look, they probably felt bad about giving away the Dragon. They tried to DPS down the Baron fast. They got vision on it at 6,000 health, so it was very, very risky. I would have preferred to see them back away. But look, hindsight is 50-50. They did pick up the Dragon.
Yeah, much like that smite as EP are going to take away the mid inhibitor turret now as well. Baron buff just doing so much there after those 2 kills. Can't take the inhibitor, but the base is broken open now.
Yeah, with the shorter death timers at this was, remember, we're only 24 minutes into the game. Everyone had already respawned, so smart not to overstay and look for the inhibitor. They might have got the inhibitor, but the trade would have been 5 kills, losing all your Baron buffs, and potentially a lot of map movement and vision advantage for Starhorn Royal Club.
Yeah, we can kind of see an explosion in gold here coming through for EP. They were 8,000 gold ahead now, and that's reflected in some of their last item pickups as well. Amazing that he does have a luxury phage and a hex drinker here, and almost a Warmog's coming through to go on top of his Merc treads. Lee Sin looking fine, but just a lot of cost-efficient health. But Raphael may be the big winner. A second augment, I believe, and the Morellinomicon plus the Zon is done. Kane's got 2 items, and Shu's even finished his locket.
But when you move over to the Starhorn Royal Club team, notice there's one term we haven't used this game that we've been using so often during the LPL. Trinity Force Power Spike, rotating with that Trinity Force Corki. Corki, he's got his 2 big items, but he's been an afterthought this game. Kept up competitively in CS, but they've never been able to rotate around the lanes. They've just been kind of reacting to EP's movements. EP were the ones taking the top turret, rotating for their 3rd very early into the game. And this Corki, well, returning to the lineup after a couple of weeks off, really hasn't been able to get the mid-game flowing on the Corki that we've seen so often in the LPL.
Yep, and a good blue buff steal there as well. Actually, Insect going to pop his ulti. Pops to Ghost as well. The Ghost Blade, sorry, and Raphael is going to use his Zonyas now. Shu going to rotate in, and Insect has to run away. Does jump backing in to try and do the damage, but Chaos Storm just rips him to pieces.
Looked like Raphael wanted to hold on to that Chaos Storm for a team fight, realized that he was going to potentially get assassinated, and just exploded Rengar.
Yeah, now EP going to keep pushing in. Remember, they still have Baron ticking, so doing a lot of damage to this turret. Everyone chipping in for turret damage there. Raphael even still staying here, and that's going to force a Lantern out. Royal really up against their own base now.
EP need to remember they do have the inhibitor turret down in mid. That's what they want to take while they have the 1-man advantage. Only 10 seconds left. But no, they just doubled down and taking the very easy outer turret when realistically they could have forced a 5v4 around the inhibitor. When you take an inhibitor turret so early, though, with those other outer turrets still up, sometimes you forget these things.
Yeah, I mean, the wave was pushing back as well, so EP just rotating to the natural place that they could go, I guess, with the bottom side, and do take a turret and continue to grow that gold lead as well. Warmog is done here for Amazing J now as well, and we're going to check in on Raphael once again. He's got a very early boot enchant.
Yeah, just looking over to Raphael, he's got the early distortion, which is interesting.
Fura.
The Furor, sorry, yeah. Now that you mention it, whenever he hits the Q, of course, that's his single target spell, let alone his auto attack, which he wants to get for the second part of his Q. The burst of movement speed, now that he's upgraded his Hex Core again, he'll probably have double speed. He's going to be very speedy whenever he hits a Q in the team fights.
And we talked a little bit in the laning phase that, Victor's mobility potentially initially going to have plenty of it now. We'll probably see Raphael comically speed through an Amazing J bouncing in, and EP going to try and take this inhib.
I'm just watching for that first Q just to see the Furor at work. I'm going to actually mouse over to see how much movement speed he goes from. Sitting at a 380 base, that number is going to skyrocket in a team fight.
Insect, I believe, has popped his ulti there as well. Was looking for a flank but couldn't quite find it. Hooked does an onto Amazing J, but he's so tanky on this Nashu. Going to come in on top of Royal Corn, and Raphael blows him up there. Now the inhibitor is going to get aggressed on, but Cola is taking way too much damage as well. Raphael going to chase some people down. Kane getting low, but Cola gets kicked back. Shu gets 0. Insect has to run away. Throws the boulder at Kane, still alive. Got the kill onto Mako. Raphael chasing people down on the Victor, and that's 3 kills for 0.
With the Hex Core upgrade and the Furor enchant, moves up to over 500 move speed every time he hits a Q. Raphael on that Victor doesn't have a lot of mobility in fights, but add a couple of items, and he's zipping around.
And this just might be game here as well. The Nexus turret, will fall. The Nexus gonna fall shortly after, and Royal just cannot defend at this point. A 30-minute game here, and EP win in style. Well, gonna maybe be the last kill, but no, can't quite get it done. The Nexus falls, and good game to Energy Pacemaker.
28 minutes 40, and this is what we were hoping for. This was what prophesized when we say they're such an innovative team, but they can never get it together for a full game. Finally they did. Very early dragon control for the second dragon, then rotating their lanes around, taking those outer turrets, completely negating the Corki pick. No mid-game Trinity Force Corki rotations coming through whatsoever, and EP just completely outpaced Starhorn Royal Club.
And we've talked a lot about EP and their individual players and how especially Drizzle and Amazing J come together. That was a full team effort there by Energy's Pacemaker to win that game.
208 was Amazing J, and that probably understates how much impact he had in fights. Every time his teleport came through, after they tried to pick him and just found, wow, the Banshee Veil, we can't burst through this guy. Every subsequent fight, he was zoning so much space because the moment the rage bar came close to full, they could go nowhere near that top laner.
Yeah, and we talked about Insect stats as well. Another disappointing game for him. 3, 5, and 3 on that Rengar. Just maybe too many carries spoiling the broth there for Royal.
I mean, 3, 5, and 3. You have to remember, the first 2 Thrill of the Hunts was successful. He picked up a kill. He got an assist for the second one. It was looking good for Insect, but he pigeonholes himself so severely on this DPS Rengar choice because the moment you jump into an AoE teamfight, that he's jumping into potentially a Gnar ultimate, the Victor ultimate, and his Tibbers. Like, there's so much AoE damage coming through. He's just melting once he goes in. So if he doesn't get that fortuitous big pick before a fight, doesn't force an instant 5v4, I mean, the build, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, we saw Zero there as well, just a last shot on your screen. He did not look happy after the loss. And I think Royal, again, they're expected to pick up points here. They need to make sure they stay in that top 8. That was not the performance they wanted.
It wasn't. It's the first game of a best of 2. They can pick it up. We know the potential. They're definitely the team with the more points, but they have to go back to the drawing board and try something different in game 2.
Well, we'll have to see if Energy Pacemaker can live the dream and go 2-0 here up against Royal. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with more LPL action.